You know what I've always found interesting?
What?
Obi-Wan Kenobi is a pretty crappy mentor to Luke Skywalker.
That's so harsh. Okay.
You don't know what you're talking about. You probably don't even remember that movie at all. So Luke Skywalker finds Obi-Wan Kenobi, knows him by a different name, and takes him some droids, right? So everybody following along knows the story. Um, Obi-Wan then takes him on a scavenger hunt, kind of, to try and find Princess Leia and go help. Gets stuck in an Empire starship.
Dire.
And then Obi-Wan Kenobi leaves him, sends Luke and Han to go disable a tractor beam, not tractor beam. They're to rescue Princess Leia. He goes to disable the tractor beam, and then he dies. That is his mentorship of Luke Skywalker, with a little bit of lightsaber training there in the middle.
Lightsaber.
Yeah. So made me think,
Okay.
are there good mentors in fantasy?
It seems so harsh. There's totally good mentors in fantasy.
Okay, well,
There are a lot like that, though.
yeah, there's
Or-
a lot of really bad mentors
Or
in
like
fantasy.
Haymitch, if you think of Haymitch. What? Like, sure, and maybe at the end he had a heart, but what?
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about 3 each of our favorite mentors. They don't necessarily have to be good mentors, but favorite mentors in fantasy here.
Memorable.
And we'll see which ones we remember. Who's going to go down like Obi-Wan Kenobi and be killed really quickly, or I guess be awful mentors, and who are going to be awesome ones.
Okay.
We'll find out.
All right.
Why don't you lead us off? What do you got?
I should have brought a book. Anyway, Burrich is his name.
Burrich is a great mentor.
So Burrich is in, oh gosh, what are they called?
They are
Farseer
the
trilogy.
Farseer trilogy.
And he is Fitz's mentor, and basically becomes a father figure. He's the stable master. What would you call him?
Stable master.
Cool. He's a stable master, in charge of all the animals,
Yep.
and just kind of takes Fitz under his wing, and Fitz likes the animals too, but like years and years and years. We're talking from like 6 to I don't even know how. I'm on book 3. Fantastic series, by the way. I'm on book 3. I don't know how old he is, but I don't know how old he'll be at the end either. There's a lot of time that passes in these books. So, man, I love that guy. And they have like this good dynamic where they can be honest and harsh to each other, but also they take good care of each other, and they're very alike, and they're very different.
It is interesting. Burrich is a great mentor, but I think Burrich is the best mentor Fitz has in the Otherling series.
Total in the whole entire thing.
In the whole entire thing, even in the one. So right
I
now,
would agree, because Verity is fantastic.
well, but you also have Chade,
Oh, I love Chade.
right? So you have multiple mentors for Fitz,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the flip side, you actually have Fitz being a mentor for like Ketterick, and even others in throughout the series. So it is an interesting thing that I actually feel like that's a more organic way. It's rare that somebody has a single mentor.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times there's more a combination. It takes a village story as a child.
Yeah.
And I think you really get that with Fitz, is you have these touch points that are heavy and important in his life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just a single one.
Well, this one's like a father figure, and then you have like a Dumbledore who's like the teacher. And then you have like Verity who's like his friend, but also his hero. So it's fun. There's different dynamics.
I mean, even Shrewd was a mentor
Yes.
in certain ways, right? And he was almost the more of the Dumbledore in certain things, like
You're right.
huge loyalty and allegiance there.
Yeah.
But great examples of mentors.
Yeah.
There. I'm kind of going on the other side of this, where in Lies of Locke Lamora, the Gentleman Bastard series, you have Father Chains, right? And you've never read these books, but they're phenomenal.
Do I need to plug my ears?
No, you're okay. So Father Chains ends up teaching this ragtag group of children to be thieves. That is what they are. They worship the god of thievery, basically, and they perform elaborate cons. And so he's a really interesting mentor in that he's teaching these kids to run giant cons on people. But it is interesting because he's teaching very important life skills. And the more of these books you read, the more you realize how much of his teaching really saved their lives, but also gave them a foundation where they can continue to do the things that they're doing to kind of move the plot forward here. So really, really interesting point.
There's a child.
Pause.
A child. I like how he gets up. That means I just gonna sit here and stare at the camera.
Well, she did yell "Dad."
She did yell "Dad." You're right.
Yeah, sweetie. What's wrong?
I bet you can hear what he's saying, but I
You're
can't.
hot? Do you want to take off this blanket? That could help. Maybe we could just do a little blanket. Excuse me.
He just sneezed.
Here.
I had to sneeze.
There you go. That'll help.
Father chains. I was thinking there might be like a chain of fathers. It's fine, I'm just sitting here talking to myself.
It's all right.
Also, I was trying so hard to sneeze, and then you sneezed. It's like you stole it, and I was so
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, father chains.
So father chains is a great example of a mentor that may not be teaching necessarily the right things, but definitely pave the direction for the characters to follow.
Cool. Teaching them what to do and how to do it, but not like great things.
Yeah, a very slippery slope of morality, I think, in there that he's expressing.
Gotcha.
All right. Who else you got? What other mentor do you want to point out here?
This one's pretty easy. I'm going to sit in Harry Potter for a second. No, not Dumbledore. And no, not Sirius Black. I'm going with Professor R.J. Lupin.
Okay.
Can you see that?
I mean, yeah. The interesting thing about Lupin, though, is I feel like he's just not around very long. I would argue that Hagrid is almost more of a mentor at various points, at various things, right? Like, it's just mentors I feel like need to have a longer time period in order to do stuff. And Lupin, you get a year, and then you get a gap for a
couple
while.
more years, though.
I mean, he's around, but he's out doing things. There's not a lot of like mentorship interaction there.
I know.
You definitely get way more with Sirius than you
Yes.
do with Lupin, and way more with Dumbledore.
But the time is...
I mean, I would almost argue you may have more mentorship with McGonagall than you do with Lupin.
No. Lupin
You may not have the relationship, but you may
Yes.
have the mentorship.
The relationship and that just like knowing that there's someone there, that was a big deal.
But I never felt like that was Harry clung to that with Lupin. I think he did it to Sirius.
I'm reading the third one right now with my son, and I'm just so excited to be with Lupin.
So Lupin is a phenomenal character, and I think Harry does as he's a professor there.
Yes.
For sure. Yes.
Yes.
But once he's gone from being a professor, I don't think you have much of that relationship that lasts.
I don't think I agree. You got the fifth one when they're in the house and they see each other regularly. You got the sixth one, maybe nothing there. And then the seventh, they're in and out at safe houses and stuff and different things.
Yeah, but it's not like they have a huge relationship.
No, but just like Harry had nobody else. There was no one else that filled that role like Lupin did.
Except for Sirius and then Dumbledore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You totally slaughtered that one.
Yeah,
You just like...
Sorry. I mean, in some ways, it's like the argument that Slughorn was a mentor. Like Slughorn was there for a year.
No,
had a relationship with Harry.
That's his best friend. That's such a different thing.
I love Lupin. I'm just saying, I don't know if there's a lot of mentorship there beyond that 1 year.
No, I think it all was so impactful and lasting.
Maybe.
Also, I do wonder if I wasn't reading Prisoner of Azkaban right now, I don't think he would have been on my radar. But just the fact that I'm just like loving being in the presence of Lupin, I don't know.
So it is an interesting thing because it is, besides Hagrid, probably the first adult that seems to show outward affection to Harry.
Yes.
Right. And so I think the reaction is somewhat that, as he's affectionate to Harry.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great point.
Right. So I think there's some of that there.
Mm.
All right. So I'll see your crappy mentor and give you a good one. I'm going
crappy mentor.
Different. Lupin's a phenomenal character, just not a good mentor. So I think a great example of a mentor is Kelsier through the Mistborn series.
Okay.
Right now, obviously, spoiler alert for those that have not read Mistborn.
Careful. Okay.
Just said spoiler alert.
I know.
You're not going to get him through the entire Mistborn series, but at least with the first book, you get a very formative experience with Vin of him teaching her how to be a Mistborn, right? And so yes, it's a short amount of time, just like Lupin was a short amount of time, but Kelsier teaches her everything that she needs to be able to know, to be able to do the things that she does, and then pays the ultimate sacrifice to give her the oomph to get to the next stages of life, so to speak here. So I think he's a really good example of a short-term mentor that has a much more lasting impact than just a friend. I think Lupin is a friend. I think Kelsier is a mentor.
Okay, I can see that.
Right, and I think there's a difference between, and part of what a mentor is Harry didn't model his life to be like Lupin. I think Vin models her life to be like Kelsier.
I can see that. Did Kelsier make Vin the godmother of his child?
But Kelsier didn't have any children. In fact, Kelsier kind of thought of Vin as his child.
That is really cute. I
So,
did
I
like
mean,
the
kind of.
relationship a lot.
Yeah. So it was a great mentor. All right, what's your next one? I bet your next one's better than Lupin.
It is. I don't know his name though. So The Count of Monte Cristo has been one of my all-time favorite movies since I was like a young teenager. Love that movie. And Edmond Dantes, when he's in prison, meets, I call him Ferrari in my head because I don't know. Ferraris. Farius.
Farius sounds about right. It sounds French. Farius.
Anyway.
You say Edmond
those
Dantes.
two,
Farius.
that relationship is life-changing. It's incredible. And reading the book, I read the book last year.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've loved this for years and years and years. And then reading the book, even better than the movie. He helps him escape. But not only that, he teaches him to read. He teaches him all these languages. He teaches him about philosophy and about spirituality and different religions. And then he gives him his whole fortune. I mean, that's kind of the epitome.
Pretty big.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
It's a big thing. It's a great mentor. I think the better mentor, though, is the quintessential mentor, and that's Gandalf.
I knew it.
Right.
I knew you'd go there.
Well, I mean, I think he is the stereotypical mentor, and it's
totally
interesting
is.
because he's not a mentor.
Look at that
for
guy.
Yeah, he's not a mentor for just one person, right? Like he's the mentor for multiple people in that fellowship, and really his role in the Lord of the Rings world is to be a mentor for all of the peoples, all of the leaders, to try and help them, encourage them, point them in the right way. And so he has a very strong mentor relationship with Frodo, obviously. But that's not as strong as the mentor relationship he has with Bilbo, which is even more fascinating.
Cute. I do love it's a generational thing.
Yes. Which, interesting though, is probably not as strong as the kind of generational relationship he has with Aragorn, right? Where in a lot of ways he was Aragorn's mentor, and it being set places. Aragorn had multiple mentors, a lot like Fitz. Elrond was one of his mentors, and others. And then you see Aragorn being mentors for some of the other of the Fellowship. And so it is an interesting thing, but I think Gandalf is that quintessential mentor, where he is very much teaching people and putting people in situations for them to succeed, where maybe they wouldn't have been able to succeed without Gandalf kind of paving the way for them.
Yeah.
So I think Gandalf is really the quintessential mentor.
He's got to be number one.
He may not be the best mentor. I mean, he did die.
You forgot to say spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. But, I mean, I guess so did some of the other mentors I have in there. But Gandalf, I think, is a good example of what good mentors are. They don't do the work for you, but instead they point you in the right way and help you burn that fire of passion to be able to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
Well, how about you let us know what your favorite mentors are in fantasy? I'm sure there's a bunch more that we thought of.
Oh, totally. It was a lot to narrow down, but not all fantastic. So.
Yep, but that's part of the best thing about fantasy is reading flawed characters.
Yes.
Right? And all of it is true. Flawed characters make characters feel real. And there's many good ones that we could have talked about and could have gone through. I thought about the Dresden Files and how Harry Dresden has mentors and is also a mentor for others. And I think there's some interesting things there. I thought about Name of the Wind and some of the different things that popped up there. I thought about the mentor relationships inside of Stormlight Archive, with Dalinar mentoring his sons and even Kaladin there, and Kaladin acting as a mentor for a lot of Bridge 4, for
even Moash.
Yep, like it is interesting how those mentorship relationships branch out. So there's lots of great ones. Share your favorites with us. We'd love to read them. Love to learn more about who you think the best mentors in fantasy are.
Yes, please, and what you think about our opinions.
Let us know if you think Lupin is a mentor or not.
And be kind about it, because I'm already a little hurt. I just like the guy.
Well, I mean, he's a good guy.
Expecto Patronum.
Just maybe not a mentor.
Like and subscribe.
I'm Blake.
I'm Jamie.
We're Blamie.
I guess so.